It's January the 3rd, 1943, and 72 flying fortresses are navigating towards a bombing run above the west coast of France. Inside the ball turret of the B-17, nicknamed Snap, Crackle and Pop, Staff Sergeant Alan Magee is looking out for enemy fighters. The planes are on a mission to destroy an important German U-boat base at Nazaire. Everyone in the plane knows the Luftwaffe is on full alert.
Navigator to pilot, the lead should be turning any
As the
second.
plane makes its final turn over Lake Grand Loup towards their target, Magee sees the beauty of the French countryside, suddenly interrupted by black explosions. Flak. As the flak starts up, the P-51 fighter escorts peel off. Their fuel is spent. The B-17s are on their own.
Get ready, men. We're in for a tough ride.
In the pilot's seat of Snap, Crackle and Pop, First Lieutenant Arthur Adams struggles to keep the aircraft flying straight as the formation is rocked by heavy flak.
We're fine. Missed this one.
Saint-Nazaire is nicknamed Flak City by the pilots, and these huge eruptions that seem to be exactly at the correct altitude
Damn flak.
are a horrifying sight. It seems impossible to make it through this while flying straight and level for a long bombing run. Then, through the explosions of flak, Adams notices something else to the left, something that shouldn't be there with all this flak.
Contrails, 8 o'clock. Are those enemies? Confirmed. There's a lot of them. Boys, you see that? Better get ready. No, they ain't not.
The official mission report stated,
The enemy fighter operations were performed with great skill and determination.
enemy fighter units flying Focke-Wulfs in strings of 4 to 6 flew parallel to the lead group until reaching a point at least a mile ahead of our flight. They then turned into the flight, climbing slightly on the turn and diving slightly as they completed the turn so as to bring them below the field of fire of the top turret gun.
Damn it, I can't see them.
Approaching from about 11 o'clock, they swung toward the lead airplane, then cut slightly back on the wing airplane on 3 position. Our nose gunners fired ineffectively as the Focke-Wulf closed.
They're too damn fast.
The Focke-Wulf came very close indeed before opening fire and then quarter-rolled away to avoid collision.
This is a nightmare.
They appeared to pass within 50 to 100 feet of our wingtips and attacking the number 3 airplane.
Hell are those Germans
They came
doing?
in rapid succession so that it was difficult to bring them successively under fire.
What are they doing?
The Focke-Wulfs ignored the AA fire, which was bursting all around our formation.
Germans, 9 o'clock low.
The closing speed is incredible, and it seems no sooner they spotted that they're past the Snap, Crackle and Pop, scattering as they pass.
Fighters, 2 o'clock.
One goes inverted underneath the plane, and Alan Magee is ready in his ball turret. He lets loose as his guns blast from each side of the turret, as it sways to the left following the FW-190 that's passing way too close to him. He sees bright flashes of tracers, almost blinding him from his 2 50mm caliber machine guns. But everyone misses. The plane's too quick, and it's already a speck in the distance.
Damn it, they're back. Keep your eyes open. They'll be coming around again.
Magee had never seen the German planes ignoring the flak like that. This raid was his 7th combat mission, and in Snap, Crackle and Pop, that made him the most experienced crew member.
Another from 1. Hold on, boys. We'll get through this.
The 190s come in for another pass, this time from the rear.
They're coming from the back.
Gunners return fire, and tracers once more fill the air.
I hit it. No, didn't go down.
And still, the flak explodes around them. The Germans are relentless. It's a maelstrom of explosions and lead. Planes go down, but through the fog of war, it's hard to tell who is lost. Through bursting shells, 6 fighters lock onto the lead plane of the formation, S for sugar. All the other planes in the formation have been instructed to release their bombs when the lead plane does. S for sugar's captain feels the weight of responsibility for the success of the run, and he continues straight on his course, determined to hit the target. But sparks fly as German planes close on the nose of the aircraft. Despite the flak and the swarm of enemy fighters, B-17s continue on their course.
That was close. Navigator, how far to the target?
Kali, another B-17, gets a direct hit from flak and rolls over.
They have to bail.
Magee sees it go down, and there's a huge mass of smoke filling the view. Magee looks at the glass of the main sighting window before him, and a small crack appears. Looking up at the fleet of B-17s cruising through the rain of black shell bursts, German soldiers aim their 40mm Flak 28 guns. Their fire is persistent, shells peppering the heavens with 120 rounds per minute. Nearby, a more powerful Flak 88 fires high explosive shells. Again and again, the heavy flak barrage is sent into the air, predicting the trajectory of the flying B-17s.
Die Amerikaner haben keine Chance.
Back inside the Snap, Crackle and Pop, Magee thinks they've nearly made it to the drop zone, but it's not soon enough. An explosion hits. Magee feels the cold, icy wind on his face around his mask, but somehow his chest feels warm. He puts his chin down, only to see the cuts in his leather jacket. He brings his palms closer in disbelief. There's shrapnel sticking out of his chest. Magee realizes he needs to get out of there. He can't bail out, as in the turret there's no parachute. He rushes to hand crank the turret and checks the hatch opening, but it's not in position yet. He ignores the sound of wind buffeting the ball turret and the intense cold as he finally gets the turret in position and manages to push open the hatch. Adrenaline courses inside him, and despite his injuries, he rapidly exits the cocoon of the ball turret, only to be confronted with a hellish inferno of the ongoing battle. The waist gunners are blasting away as German planes scream past. Magee grabs his parachute, but sees it's already damaged. How much more punishment can the Fortress take? If she goes down, he'll need a chute. He struggles for breath and makes his way towards the radio operator. Maybe there's a spare chute, or they can do a tandem jump.
Bandit, 8 o'clock high.
Another blast strikes near Snap, Crackle and Pop. It's a big one. The aircraft shudders and groans like a wounded beast as sparks fly and the men are thrown to the floor. There's now a massive hole in the middle of the aircraft. Fighting the wind, Magee climbs to the window near the radio operator's position and looks up. What he sees turns his blood cold. A German fighter coming right at them. The FW-190 lets loose with everything it has. The shots hit the right wing, ripping it clean off. It's over. The plane lurches and spins, and Magee feels himself pass out. The navigator, 2nd Lieutenant Glenn Harrington, sees Magee unconscious. He grabs his collar and tries to wake him.
What are you doing? We need to leave now.
The B-17 starts going down in a spiral, circling down the line of the remaining wing.
My God, Magee's falling out the plane without a parachute.
Magee comes around. Is this what death feels like? He sees the explosions of flak and planes from a distance, an observer. And then the pain and cold hits him. He's falling. Falling! He scrambles for his parachute and realizes there's none. Free falling without a parachute at an altitude of 20,000 feet. At this speed, he'll hit the ground in less than a minute. He rolls in the air. Magee later said he was terrified to see the ground approaching him as he was falling. The only thing he could do was pray. In the midst of it, he started negotiating with God, telling him,
I don't wish to die, because I know nothing of life.
The landscape spins as the ground looms closer and closer. A strange calm settles over him as he surrenders himself to his inevitable fate. He notices the German base, the target of the mission. Now, just like a bomb released from the aircraft, he's struck by the irony of the fact that he's going to hit it. He sees the coast, and the trees below him are now becoming bigger. He rolls onto his back and closes his eyes. Magee plunges onto the roof of the Saint-Nazaire railway station. The skylight smashes into a million pieces and his limp form finally comes to rest on steel girders above the railway track. German guards rush to the scene.
Hat das Ende bekommen, das verdient. Ich stimme dir zu, Hans. Aber wir müssen ihn runterholen.
The guards climb the girders and remove the body. Then a cry goes up.
Holen Sie einen Arzt. Mein Gott, er lebt.
Magee wakes to find white sheets surrounding him. At first glance, Alan Magee thinks this must be the afterlife. Then, he notices a German doctor standing near his feet.
We didn't think you would make it.
He explains to Magee that he was severely injured after falling to earth at Saint-Nazaire station. On either side of where he fell, there were concrete objects with hard roofs. The central part of the station was covered with a glass roof with steep sides positioned in the shape of an inverted V. It was really a miracle for Magee to fall exactly on the station's glass roof, and with the multiple layers of flight suit and thermal suit, maybe in some way that had cushioned his fall. But it wasn't without injury. Magee had broken his right leg and ankle, alongside 28 wounds from shrapnel. Not all of his injuries were visible. There was a lot of internal damage, and the medical staff had to pretty much stitch his arm back to his body. But it was still a miracle, and his survival became known and talked about as the miracle of Saint-Nazaire. But even a miracle has its limitations. Magee was now a prisoner of war. German troops transferred him to a prisoner of war camp in Austria. He often wondered if anyone else from the Snap, Crackle and Pop survived. Magee knew that the B-17 had crashed near the coast, but maybe some of them were as lucky as he was. It wasn't until he ran into a familiar face, his tail gunner from Snap, Crackle and Pop, Staff Sergeant James I. Gordon. Gordon explained that after the plane blew up, he pulled the chute and landed on the beach where the Germans captured him.
Surely I thought you were dead. How the hell are you still alive?
In 1945, at the end of the war, Magee was released and went back to the US, where he received the Purple Heart and the Air Medal for meritorious conduct. Surprisingly, the experience of falling from the fortress during the war didn't put him off flying. After returning to the US, he trained and gained a pilot's license and worked in the airline industry. In 1995, Magee returned to Saint-Nazaire. As he was standing in front of the building that was once a train station, he recalled the time he fell through the glass, covering it.
I remember it being smaller than this.
Well, you were looking at it from miles above, darling. You only felt it up close.
On that fateful mission, 3 crew members survived from the Snap, Crackle and Pop. The remaining crew was lost. Out of the total operations, 7 B-17s were destroyed and 47 B-17s were damaged. 70 crew members were missing in action, and an additional 5 were confirmed dead. The operation was seen as a success by the Allies, but in reality, little damage was done to the base itself. Out of a total of 342 bombs dropped, only 26 fell inside the radius of 1,000 feet from the target point. Alan Magee lived a long life and passed away in San Angelo, Texas on December the 20th, 2003.